Now, Donald Trump is 80 years old in June, and every day he shows just the extraordinary amount of energy he has, especially compared to the last guy. And with the midterms coming up later this year, he's already been out on the campaign trail in Iowa. Joining me is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Mick, welcome back to the program. Great to see you. Great to see you've got a bookshelf there as well now. It's looking really, really sharp here. Tell us about this. Donald Trump has gone off to Iowa. He's already talking about the midterms. Tell us very early on, we're 10 months out, but this is very, very crucial given that presidents generally lose ground in these elections. He doesn't have much time left to get this agenda through before the Democrats possibly are able to stop him for the next 2 years.
James, it's crushing me that you don't love my new set here. I even got Sydney on the map. Goodness gracious,
I love it.
Just for you.
I love it,
So,
Mick.
Plus, you just broke my heart about Molly Ringwald. Goodness gracious, that's one of my teenage crushes down the drain. But getting back to the more important things, yeah, look, Trump has to be on the campaign trail. He does. We've all known this as Republicans. There's a lot of folks who only vote for Donald Trump and don't vote in the midterm elections, and the Republicans in the House and the Senate need those people to show up. And they're only going to show up for one reason. That's if Donald Trump asks them to show up. So he was in Iowa this week. People say, oh, my goodness, Iowa's a Republican state. It shouldn't be that big a deal. But keep in mind, there's 435 House representative races in the United States. So even if you're in a solidly blue state or a solidly red state, there could be a swing congressional district. So I expect to see Donald Trump all over the country between now and Election Day because the Republicans need it badly.
Well, Mick, they do need it badly, but something you just said there is making me think they've got a longer-term problem here, which is that, of course, once Donald Trump is off the political stage, if so many of these voters will only vote because they're doing it for Donald Trump, who fills that gap? Are we going to start to see J.D. Vance step more into the public eye again to try and, affect that transition? How do you reckon that's going to go?
There's a lot of people who want to be the next Donald Trump, and maybe someone will step up. It could be J.D. Vance. It could be Marco Rubio. I'm very fond of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who worked with me in the White House and is very close to the president. But face it, James, if you had to sit here and guess, there's only one Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So I don't know how anybody else goes out and recreates the exact same sort of dynamic that he has. And keep in mind, you look back historically, and you know this as well as anybody, Ronald Reagan managed to do something in the Republican Party that the party couldn't recreate after Reagan was gone until effectively Trump. Nobody was able to put together those Reagan Democrats, those Reagan coalitions and so forth. He was a special kind of politician, and so is Donald Trump. So you're right. The Republicans are going to have issues that they have to face in 2028. But right now, that's a long way off, and they have to get through these midterms next November.
Sure. I'm just imagining Marco Rubio sitting on that sofa in the White House being told that he also has to be Donald Trump as his next job. But, another issue which is also, which we've talked about all this program here is, of course, the migration issue, the immigration issue. But it's interesting because these riots and everything in Minnesota, it's an information war as much as anything else. And there was a poll I found a little bit surprising about where voters currently sit, and CNN ran this. Have a look.
There's real uniformity here. That's what I really think you see. You see real uniformity. Deporting all immigrants who are here illegally, 55% of the New York Times. Marquette, 64%. CBS News, 57%. ABC News with a slightly different question, 56%. So what you're seeing essentially here is a very clear indication that a majority of Americans, in fact, when they're asked this blunt question, which I believe gets at the underlying feelings, do in fact want to deport all immigrants who are here illegally.
I love playing these poll grabs from CNN because it just kills them to have to run it. But it also shows that this whole attempt to sow chaos, sow disorder, and win hearts and minds somehow, it's not working.
Here's the challenge that we face. I saw those same numbers, and there's a certain, Schadenfreude in watching CNN have to eat that material. But anyway, here's what's so frustrating to me as a Republican. If you then put up another question as to whether or not people approve of the methods that the administration is using, those numbers drop off dramatically. This is why there's the disconnect. This is why I think you saw this pivot from the Trump administration over the last weekend to sort of change their rhetoric, change their tone, replace Bovino with Homan, et cetera. Those types of things is because this is an issue that is important to people. This is an issue, we're talking about illegal immigration now, where many people are aligned with the Republican Party and with the Donald Trump policies, but somehow we got sideways with those voters on how to put those policies into play. So I think the Trump team made the exact right move in the last 4 or 5 days to sort of recalibrate and get back to scratch. If they can figure out a way to get back to focusing on deporting violent, offending, illegal immigrants, that's a 94% issue. And you wonder who the other 6% are. So that's the Republicans need to be. This is still their issue. They can still do well on it. They just have to do better.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, also, of course, brewing in Washington while all this is going on, there's talk of, and it feels like Groundhog Day here, Mick, another government shutdown. And Republicans are warning the Senate not to make any changes the Democrats want to a funding package around Homeland Security, saying it would not clear the House and it would again lead to another one of these crises of funding. Explain this to our viewers here, because we haven't heard a lot about this. Is there going to be another one of these shutdowns? Can the Democrats hold the Trump administration to ransom again as a way, I suppose, to say, well, you know, you need the Democrats in, otherwise this?
Yeah, this comes down to why you have to have 60 votes in the Senate. That's why this is an issue right now. The Republicans control the House and the Senate, but spending bills, the things that fund the government, need to have 60 votes in the Senate. So you have to have Democrat votes. And as of a week ago, the Democrats had no interest in shutting the government down. And then Minneapolis happened, or at least the most recent shooting happened. And now the Democrats have withdrawn their support for the spending bills, saying they're only going to vote to fund the government, or at least part of the government. That's critical here. If the administration agrees to make changes on its ICE policies, its immigration enforcement policies. James, I've been through this enough in Washington, D.C. When I was director of the Office of Management and Budget, we had accidental shutdowns. We had shutdowns that nobody really wanted. Sometimes people want them, but a lot of times they don't. I think you might get into an accidental government shutdown here, at least as to part of the government. It won't be complete because Congress will have approved other pieces and parts of the government to be funded. But this could be really sort of nasty. It could be a tempest in a teapot, but it could be a real tough tempest, because I'm not sure the administration is going to want to sort of give in to the Democrat demands to change their policies.
Yeah, fine. I think that's right. I think an accidental government shutdown, well, I mean, that's pretty bad luck. But finally, Mick, I want to ask you about this really shocking story, which shows kind of where politics are in the United States. A Florida nurse has been struck off the rolls for wishing a childbirth injury. This is horrific. On White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, who announced on social media that she's going to have a child. Have a look at this.
As a labor and delivery nurse, it gives me great joy to wish Caroline Leavitt a 4th-degree tear. I hope that you rip from bow to stern and never normally again, you
Mick, I mean, this is a real charming display of the peace and love and tolerance of the left, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, kumbaya, right? Can't we
Yeah.
all just get along? Imagine, going in and having that person tender to you in the hospital tomorrow. Now, thankfully, that won't happen, because I understand Ron DeSantis's government has pulled her license and so forth. But look, James, does everything need to be politicized? Goodness gracious, do you have to worry now in this country when you walk into the hospital if the nurse or the doctor is a different political party than you? Oh my goodness, that's just horrible. And think about even more generally, even if you're not in healthcare, would you want to work with somebody who would wish that so flagrantly and openly on another human being? I mean, my goodness, we all struggle with maybe, thinking bad things about people. That's just part of the human condition. But to go on and put it out in public on purpose, it's not like somebody caught her in an undercover interview. She chose to do this. So no, it's a terrible reflection of where we are in the country. I give the DeSantis government here in Florida full credit for acting quickly to keep this person away from other human beings, because she's probably a danger to them.
Absolutely, Mick, although it does remind me of Reagan's quip when he was shot and being wheeled into the operating room, and he said to the team, he said, well, I hope you're all Republicans.